I blew a hydraulic line on the steering on my John Deere 1050 tractor. So I'm just out here today changing out the hoses. I got 2 new hoses built. You can see I've already taken one hose off to use that hose to match, to get it matched by the hose builder. And I've brought the 2 new hoses back. So these are the 2 new hoses I'll be installing today. Again, I've got one hose off already, and now I'm taking the second hose off. I've actually loosened this hose. It's just a matter of taking 2 11/16 open end wrenches and working them in a counter-opposing fashion. So you got to take that top hose off first, because that allows the hose to turn when you go to take the hose off at the bottom fitting. So if you take the fitting off at the top first, you won't have any problem taking it off at the bottom. So that bottom uses a different size wrench. So you take 13/16 box end, because you get the best grip using the box end, and put that up against your nut coming from the hydraulic line from the transmission. And I like to take a big crescent wrench, or rather a pipe wrench, because I've got more torque, and put that pipe wrench on it to hold it steady while I pull against it. I'll show you what I mean. So again, we're going to go take this nut off using lefty-loosey. If I can get it. There it goes. And now we can take the hose off. Take your 13/16 wrench off first. Then you can just twist the hose until it comes out of the fitting. There she goes. You're going to lose a little bit of hydraulic fluid, but again, it's no big deal. I've got a towel under it to catch it. If it was a lot, I'd put my pan up under here and catch it with the pan. So putting the new hose on, I'm going to put some petroleum thread compound around the fitting on the new hose. And you can buy this stuff at Tractor Supply Company or anywhere that sells hydraulic fittings. It's usually around a little small bottle like this, is probably $9 to $10. And that'll help seal it up. So then I'm going to thread the new hose in there, and that'll stop that leaking pretty much. And that's okay to put it in there with that hydraulic fluid leaking there. It'll set up, and you won't have any leaks. Okay, and as you saw, I just took the hose and used the hose itself to twist it back onto the old fitting. And then now I'm using the same pipe wrench to tighten up the new connection. And you don't have to really try to manhandle it. You can just tighten it medium tight. You don't want to strip anything. All right, so that part's done. And we'll put the next hose on the same way. Okay, so we got the bottom 2 connections made. There we are. So we'll get these ends, the 2 ends that are still loose. We'll bend the first one back in place and work it onto the fitting. So here again, we're going to take some pipe joint compound. This is again special compound for hydraulics. And put some of that on the thread. There she goes. And we'll make the connection. Be careful not to cross thread this, because you create another problem for yourself if you cross thread it. And I hand tighten it, and then I'll finish it up with the wrench. And again, that'll be should be a 13/16. Yep. So I'm going to hand tighten both of these first, and I'll come back and do the final tightening, because I've got to wedge a wrench in here and hold this hydraulic steering unit so that I can get some some grip. So what I ended up doing is changing the position of this fitting. If you recall, the fitting was actually pointed downwards, which didn't give me enough clearance from this other fitting. So I just rerouted the hose and I've moved the fitting and oriented it above the other fitting. And so now I'm connecting the hose. It seems kind of awkward, I know, but they didn't give me the same size hose and fittings that I took off of here. So I'm just kind of improvising. Sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. So that's how it's going to look in finished form. Now we'll test it once we get the tractor running and see if anything binds up. But it looks like it should be good to go from what I'm seeing right now. And then we'll secure the actual tubing as well. All right, so now I'll go ahead and tighten that, and that'll wrap it up pretty much. And you remember I said I would need to take just a second and get me a bar or something so that I could counterpose that wrench while I'm turning it, because you don't want to put a lot of pressure on this steering unit as well. So a couple good turns. You're not trying to over tighten it. One more, see what it gives us. Okay, and that should do it. That's 2 new hydraulic hoses for the steering. And again, I'll just come back here in just a second and I'll tighten up the tubing so that it doesn't rattle around down here. Okay, so what we want to do now is just go ahead and start the tractor up, take a good look at all 4 of the hose connections, and just make sure we have no leaks and make sure nothing's binding up and everything's functioning properly. So let's give it a shot, get it started up, and that should take care of this project. All right, we're good, no leaks.